I'm so bored. This quarantine stinks. I've got nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
You could do a new video, you lazy asshole.
Yeah, I could. But I found this, and I think I'm gonna do this.
Oh god, no, you're not playing that for the next 2 months.
Wait. Hold on. Oh, I almost had it. It was almost happy birthday. Check this out. Check. Wait. Hey, spoon. Look. Hey, what do you know? I'm actually talking about a horror game this time around on this channel.
I did another Twitter poll, and it was between Detention and this one.
Oh, don't worry, Detention, my beautiful, perfect game. I will get to you soon.
Bendy and the Ink Machine is a 2017 first-person survival horror released by Kindly Beast and Rooster Teeth.
Oh god, now I'm burning! That's much worse than other things burning!
Yes, that one. Games. It was originally released in chapters starting in February 2017 and ending October 26, 2018.
It's kind of surprising, but this game flew under my radar for years.
I had seen the toys and action figures in EB Games and vaguely knew of it, but I never really bothered looking into it until around the beginning of 2019.
I knew nothing about this game going in, so when I popped it into my Switch and started playing it, I thought I was in a bad creepypasta for a second. Mostly because I couldn't be bothered to do any research or even look at the back of the box. This type of game is what I kind of call a kiddie pool horror. I don't mean that condescendingly, not even remotely. I like this game a lot.
Games like Five Nights at Freddy's, Scary Child, Bendy, and others in that same vein are games where younger audiences can dip their toes into horror without it being overwhelming.
And these games are massively popular with younger kids, and rightfully so. They're a lot of fun.
It just goes to show you that kids are naturally drawn to horror.
These games are as important to kids now as the scary storybooks were to kids in the 90s. I gotta get to these books too. I love these things.
Okay, story time. We opened to Chapter 1, Moving Pictures. The game takes place in 1966, where you take the role as Henry, a retired animator, who receives a letter from his old friend, Joey Drew. That's kind of hard to say when you think about it. Joey Drew.
In the letter, he asks you to return to the studio because he has something important to show you. Nobody learns anything from James Sunderland. Nothing good comes from following letters from long dead people or people you haven't talked to in a long time.
Okay, actually, you know what? Side note, would you kindly tell me, has there ever been a horror game where the protagonist followed a letter or a video/audio message that didn't end up not going great for them?
Welcome to the family, son.
So Henry shows up after 30 years, and we immediately notice that this animation studio has not only definitely seen better days, but is in disarray and seemingly abandoned. There's ink everywhere, dripping from the ceiling, weird writing on the wall, and an all-around eerie feeling. Nobody is around. Right out the gate, this game gives you a beautiful dark Disney vibe, like if
Walt Disney lost his mind and built an ink machine and fed Catherine Beaumont to it, and she turned into an ink creature. That's the original voice of Alice. I had to look that up.
While wandering the animation studio, eventually you come across what your old friend was hinting at, the ink machine. Henry's goal in this section is to find objects to place on pedestals to unlock the ability to turn on the machine. These objects are from the workstations of the people who worked at the studio. As you turn the corner from the power room,
I gotta say, I really like the pop scares in this game.
A board falling from the ceiling, having those cardboard cutouts of Bendy seemingly move into spots when it would be impossible, or in some cases, and my favorite, the same cutout peeking around the corner at you. We find out later who's doing that, but it's a nice little startle with a quiet sound effect each time it happens. While searching for the required items, you come across a dead Boris strapped to a gurney,
which Henry has a really subdued reaction to. Gah, nobody told me there was gonna be horror in this horror game.
At this point, it's a game of chase. Henry runs to the exit, but just before he can make it, he crashes through the flooring.
You know, I think at this point you need to reevaluate your friends, Henry. And this leads us into chapter 2.
The old song. Henry wakes up and presses on to find a way out of the accursed studio.
While trying to make your way out, you can't help but notice a lot of coffins kind of just there. I'm not in animation. Are there usually coffins all over the place?
Henry makes his way up to the music department, which is run by Sammy Lawrence.
Oh, Sammy Lawrence. He's a fun one.
He was an award-winning musician / composer and the director of the art department. In the novel Dreams Come to Life, it's revealed he stole a bunch of ink bottles that were supposed to be used for the ink machine and was drinking them. Gross. And he ultimately turned into an ink monster.
It's really dark in here.
No, it's not.
Speaking of Sammy, that searcher that you crush with the cool hat, that's Jack Fane. He was Sammy's assistant.
Sorry I had to do that. Nice hat, though.
Everybody has a cool hat except me.
You're not getting my hat.
Henry is attacked by Sammy, who lost his marbles and is planning on sacrificing him to the ink god.
He momentarily recognizes Henry, but he's had one too many ink enemas.
Wait, you look familiar to me.
However, things don't go as planned, and Bendy decides he wants a Sammy for a snack and drags him away. Henry escapes Bendy using the power of a locked door.
Apparently this ink demon is outsmarted by wood.
Come out and show yourself.
After Boris saunters out of the hallway, it leads to chapter 3, Rise and Fall.
Boris is one of the only benevolent characters in this game, and he sticks with you through most of this chapter.
Hey, buddy, you seen that lever handle around? Or are you holding it hostage until I make you something to eat? I thought so.
I find it endearing that Boris realizes this place is a hellhole nightmare, but he ain't doing shit unless Henry fixes him some food.
I can respect that.
I also really like how sweet and kind Henry is towards Boris. He expresses concern and empathy toward him, and I just love it. It's a nice little touch that gives Henry more of a personality outside of a stock protagonist. It's also a theory that this Boris is actually Buddy from the book Dreams Come to Life, as he was turned into a Boris clone at the end of the book by Joey Drew after being murdered by the ink demon. You make your way through the darkness with Boris in tow until you reach Heavenly Toys.
Why is there always something blocking the door?
Because you're in a video game, gotta extend that gameplay somehow.
You enter a room where you meet Twisted Alice, who makes one hell of an appearance.
This is kinda confusing, so bear with me.
Twisted Alice is Susie Campbell, the original voice actress for Alice before she was replaced by Allison Pendle. Susie was bitter and angry that she was suddenly replaced by Allison at the behest of Joey.
Which is justified. Can you imagine if you showed up to work and your boss is like, sorry, dame, you've been replaced? I'd be pissed and bitter too.
You meet back up with Boris, who was the one jump scaring you in the beginning by moving the Bendy cutouts, by the way.
Well, I guess he's got himself a sick sense of humor. He is definitely my favorite character. Yeah, it's fine. Take your time, Boris. We're not in a hurry or anything.
Boris becomes traumatized at seeing a replica of himself strapped down and dead, so you gotta press on without him. It's here we find out Twisted Alice has been bleeding characters dry of their ink to keep her beautiful, much like a cartoony Elizabeth Bathory.
Anything less than perfect is left behind.
Alice makes a deal with you. Run errands for her and she'll help you escape the ink hell you find yourself in. So Henry agrees and goes to fetch everything she asks for, all while avoiding the ink demon and his annoying band of baddies.
Oh, that's right. It's in this chapter that we meet, in my opinion, the coolest looking villain in this game, the Projectionist.
His original name was Norman Polk, and as of right now, it's unknown as to why he was turned into an ink monster.
Are you ready to ascend, my little errand boy?
And after you do all these fetch quests for her, she betrays you!
Who would have thought that evil Alice was evil?
Twisted Alice kidnaps Boris, and Henry awakens in Chapter 4, Colossal Wonders. While Henry runs through the archives, you come across this very heartbreaking room filled with the victims of Joey's lunacy. Henry comes across this weird, twisted version of Bendyland.
Hang in there, Boris. I'm coming.
Henry's goal is to get through the haunted house, but there's no power. In order to get in, Henry's got to perform a bunch of tasks. This includes playing carnival games, avoiding the butcher gang, and fighting a massive living mechanical carnival ride.
And this is what's left of Bertram Piedman.
Bertram was the creator of Bendy Land and the special projects director of Joey Drew Studios. You find recordings left by him everywhere, where he voices disgust about giving a childish nickname, Joey's perfectionist behavior, and his attempt at pushing Bertram out of his own creation. This is the monster hatred made him.
No! This is my park, my glory. You may think I'm gone, but I'm still here.
After Henry defeats Bertram, he has one last task that involves watching the projectionist and Bendy get into a punching match before Bendy performs a fatality. Now we get to go through the haunted house! Yay! Yay! This is where it's revealed what happened to Boris. She turned him into Franken-Boris.
And you have to kill him, which is a huge bummer. Cosplayers?
And this leads to the final chapter, Chapter 5, The Last Reel.
The chapter begins with Henry waking up in a cell.
See, Alice doesn't quite trust Henry, as strangers are never good.
And then she tries to feed you ink.
Sorry, it's all we have.
Ugh, I like the other Boris better.
Also, I mentioned it before, but this Alice was Alison Pendle, the second voice of Angel, and Thomas Connor is the Boris clone. These two were married in real life and, like Henry, were lured back to the studio only to become what they are now.
Let me show you something.
Allison shows Henry a piece of glass that could show hidden messages. I like the detail if you look at Alice and Tom through the glass.
She has a halo, and if you look at Tom, he has a bone in his mouth.
The ink demon finds their hideout and they abandon Henry, which is a huge dick move, but he finds a way out and makes it to a boat. Oh, welcome to the most annoying part in the entire game. I don't know if this was an issue on Steam, but on the Switch, the game's hit detection is a bitch. You gotta be super precise, otherwise you miss the blob stuck in the boat and you lose precious seconds you need to get away from the ink hand. After you get through that, Sammy makes another appearance.
I trusted you. I gave you everything.
Now he's a bit miffed at being abandoned by his god and tries to off Henry.
That was close. You're lucky we were in the neighborhood.
Oh, I guess all's forgiven for the whole leaving me to be murdered by a literal ink demon.
Looks like we're in for a fight. Get ready.
Oh, what's that? A gauntlet of ink monsters that lasts way too long and just serves to make the game longer?
Well, anyway, after 10 hours, the wave stops and Alice says the three should stick together, only for Henry to immediately, and I do mean immediately, fall through the floor. Again.
Man, this guy falls through more floors than some other video game character that falls through floor. I'm tired. Sorry, guys.
When Henry lands, he finds himself in the most terrifying level yet.
Administration! Where people say Happy Monday to you and they try to set you up with their son because you're the youngest person in the office by 20 years. Not that I'm talking from experience or anything.
How did you get down here?
It pays to carry a rope. You should try it.
Bitch, how is that gonna help me when I'm being chased by an ink demon?
What snarky comeback would you have had if I landed on my head? How was I supposed to help you with my spine bent in half?
Also, no, I'm glad you're okay, that you're not dead, that I'm aware that you're not an ink person, so you could possibly die from that fall.
You want to go to his lair? Are you crazy?
That's where the trail seems to lead.
Probably through that door. But it won't be easy to open. I'll need 3 gears, a crowbar. Huh. Well, that works too.
Tom speaks for the players. We are done with fetch quests.
Tom and Alice can't wander through the ink, so it's up to Henry to face the demon alone.
They could have at least given me a weapon.
I mean, they're right there. You can just turn around and ask them. Here it is, guys, the final showdown with Bendy.
Which is less terrifying than you think it would be. Just hug the wall, flip the switches, and in the second room, just get Mega Bendy to smash the ink tubes. After you show Bendy the end, Henry wakes up in the home of Joey, where he asks Henry to visit his studio and points to the door.
All right, Joey. I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see.
This makes me wonder if Henry is just lost in this Mobius strip where he just keeps repeating over and over again, kind of like a super creepy Groundhog Day.
But then there's an after credits scene where this happens.
Tell me another one, Uncle Joey.
So, was it just a spooky story that a guy told his niece? And that's Bendy and the Ink Machine.
It's a pretty decent horror game, definitely original and fun to play. It's spooky enough to catch adult players off guard, and tame enough for younger audiences to enjoy the scares without it being too intense.
If you're thinking about playing it, I suggest it. With all the stuff I did talk about, I did leave out a pretty decent amount of the game. So check it out.
Most recently, a prequel was released where you play as Boris.
The first Boris that you meet, not Tom.
It's a bit different. It's a top-down game instead of first person, and you have to constantly eat soup while collecting supplies. I personally haven't played it. I'm not that big a fan of this particular game style unless it's Diablo, but if it's something that you'd like to need to tie you over until the sequel, this is for you.
That's right, I said sequel.
And once again, I'm the last to know anything about this game franchise. The trailer has a kind of Bioshock feel to it and an added cell animation flair, which I am all for.
You know, I really liked this game and I'm very glad that it's continuing on.
And I hope it lives up to the hype, as this series deserves a long run.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.